Time to get some tournament action going. That's right, folks. We've got some replays from the Vermin League bracket here. Specifically, this is the Chieftain playoffs for Season 8. And we're going to be bringing you guys a bunch of series from this bracket of playoffs here. It is land battles, best of 3. Let's get right into it. Yeah, for this first matchup, we've got Lenorm versus Torreson. Lenorm here taking the Dark Elves, already surging forward versus Torreson's the Tomb Kings. Yes, indeed. It should be a great time. And the Cold One Knights leading the charge here. They're going to get on these Chosen of the Gods who are a little bit too far forward from their protection. Got some Witch Elves to follow up and some Dark Shards as well. A couple of Dark Riders protecting. So nice balanced kind of combined arms build for the Dark Elves. Supreme Sorceress of Death looking at just Spirit Leech here and Opal Amulet. Nice, efficient. Going to see that pop off on Queen Kalita immediately. Carrion in the front line, swooping down to support some Skeleton Spears. Kepler Guard holding the center. Got some Skeleton Horsemen and a couple of Ushabti, Sepulchral Stalkers as well. And a Lich Priest of Light looking to spam some Shem's Burning Gaze. Ooh, actually has taken out the Supreme Sorceress already. Wow. The, yeah, must have got some hits with something also there. Did she take, like, the staff or something? Still has both of its charges. Anyway, yeah, very interesting. The Supreme Sorceress just gets murked almost immediately. And we see the Dark Elves rushing in. Witch Elves, of course, should be able to blend through these Skeleton Spears, no problem. But Skeleton Horsemen running around looking for some trouble. Yeah, Witch Elves carving straight through, and the Cold One Knights helping to support against heavier units like these Ushabti here. Skeleton Horsemen also, they're going to struggle in melee against the quality of the Dark Elves here. Certainly will be able to provide a lot of bodies, but let's see, maybe they can grind them down a little bit over time. Sepulchral Stalkers doing some maneuvering to try and get out on the flanks here to blast down the side. Maybe it took a little bit too long to maneuver there, as the Dark Elves were able to come in and just deal massive damage in the meantime. Yeah, over here, the Skeleton Horsemen, again, just really can't hold a candle to the quality of the Dark Elves here. Chosen the Gods have gotten back. Not sure exactly what they're shooting at, but there's a lot of potential targets for them to try and hit here. Dark Elf build was very well constructed from Lenorm in order to prevail in this matchup. Yeah, we can see here that's the Dark Shards moving up, but some of the Witch Elves, such as Singing Doom even, have been ground down by those Ushabti. Kalita also looking relatively healthy right now, but the Ushabti kind of getting a little bit separated out where they can be picked off by armor-piercing damage. Got some Skeleton Horse Archers as well, doing a little bit of skirmishing. But the Dark Elves are relatively brittle, you know, they're relatively low HP here, and the Witch Elves should do okay against Sepulchral Stalkers, but that armor and melee defense will allow them to kind of hold out for some time, maybe get some point-blank shooting in there, try and even things out. Yeah, Dark Shards get broken here, and Shabtis have just so many targets to try and fight. These Cold One Knights, especially juiced up with Murderous Prowess, going to be quite scary in melee. Looks like that maybe just barely drops. But still, plenty of cavalry working together here. They're going to pile up on the Sepulchral Stalkers, seeing them as kind of the main threat remaining here, which is definitely an accurate assessment of the battle. Kalita is, of course, a threat as well, but she is just on foot, so she's not going to do too much here. Also doesn't have the most armor in the world, actually. Some Witch Elves can stay alive. They'll do good in us around. Kepler Guard have come through. Done some pretty decent damage, not as much as you would want from that expensive of a unit, but still. Trying to stabilize, stay alive. Ushabti running in to support Kalita. And yeah, the Skeleton Horse Archers able to chase these routing Dark Shards here. The Lich Priest of Light also contributing nicely there as well. So, Tomb King's definitely not going quietly. Fighting back hard. And trying to capitalize on that early loss of leadership. But nice envelopment here from the Cold One Knights in particular, but even Dark Riders with a decent charge bonus. Probably don't have the best melee defense in the world, even though they have pretty good armor. Just getting completely surrounded and outmodeled here. You know what I mean? Just absolutely mogged by the Dark Riders. And at this point, yeah, supporting Ushabti disintegrate. Lich Priest is still running around doing his thing, but yeah, too bad Tomb Kings don't have some big, like, banishment or some other kind of big spell to try and end things. Be pretty devastating to try and get a big vortex on this pocket here. But alas, just Shem's Burning Gaze and Khalida getting ground down will be the end of this one. That little Shem's pops. Lich Priest tries to run in against some Dark Elves, but ultimately doesn't have the most combat stats in the world. Khalida actually does manage to hold out for a surprisingly long time. I mean, she's got pretty good melee defense. Not actually super tired here. It's just kind of bopping those Cold One Knights with their non-armor piercing damage. But another Shems. Yep, we'll blow up a few unit models there, but ultimately not going to be enough. Maybe Lich Priest trying to cut and run, maybe kite a little bit here. But ultimately, Queen Khalida getting surrounded by these high weapon damage models. Also gets a few shots from the Dark Shards there. Ooh, manages to finish off that unit of Cold One Knights, but ultimately gonna throw in the towel. And Torsen put up a really good fight there, honestly. Had a nice little Lord snipe there at the beginning. And yeah, maybe just overcast Shem's Burning Gaze. Pretty impressive, honestly. And ultimately did not have a lot of the power units pay for themselves like what you'd want to do. Shabti had a pretty respectable performance. The Skeleton Horseman, definitely a bright spot for sure. Did a decent job here. But like the Kepler Guard, like the Sepulchral Stalkers, Chosen the Gods, Ushabti, all pretty expensive units, didn't quite pay for themselves. So ultimately just was not able to stand up to the rush. Credit to Lenorm here, like I said, very well constructed build. It's sort of the similar idea of what I talked about with like Plague Bears recently, except instead of having, you know, high HP and just being able to outlast, you have just super high damage to blend through skeletons. Back it up with some armor-piercing missiles, armor-piercing cavalry. It's quite potent and tough to deal with, as we saw there. The Cold One Knights were a great choice, getting good damage on the constructs. Arc Shards also reasonably cost-effective, even if a few of them got taken out. Witch Elves also trading decently well in the front line. Just mowing through hundreds of skeletons. So yeah, fun stuff. And rather than take you through the second game in the series, I'll just do a quick recap of Lenorm's Norska absolutely taking it to Torsen's Dark Elves. And that will do it for the series. Advancing Lenorm on. Let's pick back up in the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.